It's full moon already. The children are all seated, waiting for the old man to come and tell them today's story. After a while, an old man stepped forward and sit in their midst. Today I will tell you a tale from ancient land of Igodo and the land of the living dead. Let me title this tale, The Whispers of a Cursed Village. In the heart of Africa, nestled among rolling hills and dense forests, lies the ancient village of Igodo. To outsiders, it might seem like any other peaceful settlement, but the locals know better. They speak in hushed tones about the massive tree that looms over the village square, its branches casting eerie shadows even on the brightest of days. This is no ordinary tree, they say. It's a gateway to a world beyond our own, the land of the living dead, the betrayal that sparked a curse. The old man said, "Our story begins generations ago, with a young man named Ikena. Beloved by many in the village, Ikena was known for his kind heart and quick wit. But not everyone appreciated his virtues. His uncle, Obina, was a jealous and scheming man who saw Ikena as a threat to his own ambitions. One fateful night, Obina hatched a plan. He stole the king's staff of authority, a sacred object imbued with the village's spiritual power, and hid it in Ikena's hut. Come morning, he raised the alarm, accusing his own nephew of this grievous crime. A cruel punishment. Despite Ikena's pleas of innocence, the evidence seemed irrefutable. The king, bound by tradition and manipulated by Obina's lies, had no choice but to pass judgment. The sentence was brutal. Ikena would be buried alive, a fate reserved for only the most heinous of criminals. The old man shook his head and said, "A dying man's curse." As the earth closed in around him, Ikena's fear turned to rage. With his last breath, he uttered a curse upon the land of Igodo. He vowed that his spirit would never rest, and that the village would pay for this injustice. Years passed, and the village tried to forget the dark events of that day. But nature had other plans. A sapling sprouted from Ikena's unmarked grave, growing at an unnatural rate. Within a decade, it had become a massive tree, its roots delving deep into the cursed ground. Ironically, the villagers came to see the tree as a blessing. Its sprawling canopy provided shade from the harsh sun, and its sturdy branches became a favorite climbing spot for children. Little did they know that beneath its leafy exterior, a vengeful spirit was biding its time. On the anniversary of Ikena's death, strange things began to happen. Villagers who rested under the tree's shade fell into a deep sleep, never to wake again. At first, it was dismissed as coincidence. But as the years went by, and more lives were claimed on that same day, the truth became undeniable. Fear gripped everyone in the land of Igodo. Families who had lived there for generations began to leave, unable to bear the annual threat. Those who remained lived in constant dread of the tree and its deadly power. Unable to stand by any longer, then the youth decided to take action. A group of young villagers decided to take matters into their own hands. Armed with axes and machetes, they set out to cut down the cursed tree once and for all. But as their blades struck the trunk, something horrifying happened. The tree began to bleed. Real, human blood oozed from every cut, spattering the ground and the stunned youths. Even more bizarrely, with each strike against the tree, the king, who had been watching from a distance, cried out in pain. It was as if his very life force was tied to the tree's existence. Realizing they were dealing with forces beyond their understanding, the village elders sent for a renowned native priest, Igodo, known throughout the region for his spiritual wisdom, arrived within days. After communing with the spirits and examining the tree, Igodo revealed the tragic story of Ikena's betrayal and unjust death. The tree, he explained, was a manifestation of Ikena's restless spirit. forever bound to the earth that had become his tomb. Izaikuku offered a glimmer of hope. There was a way to end the curse, but it would require great courage and sacrifice. 7 men would need to journey into the evil forest, the land of the dead, and retrieve a magical knife. Only this blade could cut down the tree without harming the king or unleashing worse horrors upon the village. Despite the obvious dangers, 7 young men stepped forward. Among them were Ikenta the farmers, Okyut the hunters, Uko the drummer, the great wrestler, the flute player, and even the son of the current king. Each had their reasons. Some sought adventure, others redemption for their family's part in Ikena's fate. The journey begins into the land of the living dead. Equipped with provisions and armed with both weapons and protective charms, the 7 set out at dawn. The path to the evil forest was treacherous, winding through dense jungle and across treacherous ravines. As night fell on the first day, they made camp near a babbling brook. But the peaceful sound of water masked a deadly threat. In the darkness, a water spirit emerged, its gleaming scales reflecting the campfire's light. Before anyone could react, it had dragged the youngest of their group into the depths, never to be seen again. Trials of the spirit world. The whispering trees, the old man said. They too brought them to a grove where the trees seemed to whisper. At first, it was almost soothing. But soon, the voices grew louder, more insistent. They spoke of home, of loved ones left behind. 2 of the men, driven mad by the phantom voices, wandered off into the forest, deaf to their companion's place. On the 3rd day, a thick mist rolled in. Within its swirling depths, they saw visions of departed friends and family. One man, overcome with emotion at seeing his dead wife, he ran into the mist with open arms. His screams echoed back to the group. But he was never seen again. The heart of darkness, the old man said. At this time all the children were cold, they can't wait to hear the end of those men. The old man began. Their path led to a deep chasm, bridged only by a precarious structure made of human bones. As they crossed, the bones began to shift and creak. Halfway across, the bridge collapsed. 2 more of their group plummeted into the abyss, their cries fading into the darkness below. The final sacrifice. At this point the prince made a noble decision, said the old man. The 2 survivors knew that only one could return with the knife. The king's son, thinking of his father and the village's future, volunteered to stay behind and distract the guardian. With tears in his eyes, he charged at the beast, allowing his companion to seize the knife and flee, clutching the magical blade. The sole survivor began the perilous journey back to Igodo. Every shadow seemed to hide a new threat, every sound a potential enemy. But thoughts of home, and the need to end the curse, drove him onward. After what seemed like an eternity, the lone hero stumbled back into Igodo. Battered, exhausted, but alive. He presented the magical knife to the elders with great ceremony. Then they approached the cursed tree. As the blade struck through, the tree shuddered and began to shrink. In its place, a small sapling emerged, a normal tree, free from the taint of dark magic. The curse was lifted, but at a terrible cost. The village would never forget the brave souls who ventured into the land of the living dead, nor the tragic tale of Ikena that started it all. From that day forward, Igodo became a place of remembrance and respect for the delicate balance between the world of the living and the realm beyond. Tomorrow I will tell you the reincarnation of Ikena and the present land of Igodo Kingdom.